you so much for joining me today for this interview.
Of course.
Awesome. All right. So, just as an intro for some of you guys watching, this is my friend Allie. She actually was a camper of mine at the American Diabetes Association Camp Colorado, and we have kept a connection. And we talk all the time. So it's nice having like a diet buddy. So I had her come on here today to answer a few questions. So the first question I have for you, Allie, is if you could just share a little bit about your own personal journey with T1D?
Yeah, so I'm 15 years old and I got diagnosed when I was 17 months old. So this year I'm going to be having my 14th diaversary. So it's been a little challenging because my mom and no one in my family knew, they didn't know anything about it because no one in my family had had diabetes before. So it was stressful for my mom to have a kid at such a young age diagnosed with it because she didn't know what to do. Once I finally was able to finally start understanding my body, it helped her a lot. So at school, I have to take care of myself. I'm fully self cared for. But it's always stressful going to the doctor to see what's my A1C, because it's always I'm normally in range, but but yeah, as a teen it's interesting because not a lot of people understand it too. Like with my friends, like when I was younger, people used to think it was contagious, so they would stay away from me. But
Yeah.
now that I'm older, it's fun to have little kids actually ask me what's on my arm or what's on my waistband, because I just find it interesting. And there's actually a young girl in 3rd grade at my school now that has it, so her and I talk sometimes whenever she's struggling.
It's always nice to connect with other type 1 diabetics because we are such a small, tight-knit community. So it's always just so lovely to find the positive aspects of this challenging disease. My next question for you, kind of going off of what you were just talking about, since you are a teen with type 1, it can be very difficult to be a teenager, like if you're just a regular teen, but then having an autoimmune disease on top of it just makes things so much more complicated. So I wanted to know what it's like for you managing your disease while also balancing school, extracurricular activities, and your social life.
So before I go to any grade, even if it's at the same school, I have a meeting with the teachers beforehand, before the school year starts, so they know what to happen if I do if I pass out from being low or if I go too high, and what they do. And I have boxes in every classroom for lows, which is nice. But it is difficult with my extracurricular activities because in musical theater, sometimes I was in a tap show once, like a musical tap thing. It was Thoroughly Modern Millie. I missed almost half of the tap rehearsals because I kept going low, because I'm very I easily drop really quickly if I'm doing anything exercise wise. I pulled it off, but it's a little stressful having to sit. And then during shows, I have to make sure that my blood sugar is running a little higher, but not too high. And yeah, and then with choir, I always worry with performances if my pump's gonna go off or if my phone's gonna go off. And then there was one time where I was in a rehearsal and my teacher, it was a substitute, and then they didn't know, and I was eating Starbursts and stuff because I was going low, and she yelled at me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I have diabetes, and I had to explain it to her. But yeah.
I've totally been there. Some people just don't get it. And I think, it's because there's a lack of education. And I think it's so important to educate as many people as we can and with the correct information too, because so many people hear things that are not true, as you know.
And it's always stressful when you have people that come up to you and you tell them you have diabetes and you're just you don't look diabetic. It's that's an interesting statement. What are we supposed to look like?
Sorry, I don't look like what you expected. It's really interesting hearing your perspective as a teenager going through this too, because I went through such a similar experience. I'm also an artist and I did choir. I actually was in Thoroughly Modern Millie when I was in high school. And I don't know, I just completely relate to you. And it was hard, but just know that it gets easier as you get older and you're more independent and people are more educated. Okay, my last question for you is, why is insulin affordability important to you?
It's important to me because my mom pays for most of my insulin, and I know as she is now, she's still struggling because her job doesn't pay that well. It pays well, but it's still stressful. But thankfully, we have the healthcare that will help give us. But it's stressful to think about when I'm older, too, because like I'm going to have to be paying for it, and like I don't know if I can get the money that easily because hearing what my mom has to pay for like all of my stuff is like stressful because like it's a lot of money. So I just feel like it should be lowered for the people who also don't like have the ability to get it now, because a lot of people at a really young age can't get it because their parents are poor, and like hearing stories like that just breaks my heart because I'm lucky that I can get it, but like those kids have a higher like chance of passing because they can't get what they need to survive. And I feel like the companies like understand, but they don't like fully understand because some might not have diabetes, so like they don't know the real struggle that people might go through. So it's important to me because it's just such like, it's weird to explain because like when you're diabetic, it just has a place in your heart. It's just like you want every diabetic to be okay. So when you hear that someone can't get insulin because it's too pricey, it's like I want to give them my insulin.
Diabetics, we connect in a very special way, even if we don't know each other, you know, even if it's just somebody we met on social media. It's just like so powerful because, again, we are such a small community and we go through the same or similar struggle every single day. And I totally understand, like, I've known people, even like not that well, or sometimes I'm really close to them, who don't have health insurance or who can't afford their insulin, and so they ration their insulin, and it just breaks my heart. And I want to give them my personal stash, but it's like I can't, because then I won't have insulin, and it's difficult. And I think it's also difficult to come to grasp with the fact that, you know, once we're adults, we have to pay for our insulin ourselves, especially once, you know, we're kicked off our parents' insurance coverage. And it's really stressful to think about. And that's the main reason why I am so set on doing this project. And it's like my heart and soul, because it's so personal to me, and it is personal to all the people that I connect with and that I care with that have T1D as well. And I think that, you know, the more we educate people who don't understand this struggle, the struggle of high insulin costs, the faster and the easier it'll be for those prices to eventually drop, and so that people can afford their insulin, you know? Anyway, thank you so much for being a part of this interview, Allie. It was so lovely hearing your perspective as a teenager, as a type 1 diabetic, and it's so good to see your face. My film comes out on May 14th, so check it out, share it with your friends, your family, your T1D buddies, and yeah.
I think about you every day.